Okay, so let's jump into part two of this mini section. And we left off right about here. Okay, and so let's remove these layers. All right, and what we're going to do now is I put together a digital elevation model. Okay, and that is what we were just looking at, okay, with that terrain layer. They're called DEMs. So go over to your catalog, come up to project, and let's open up our folders. Now you should have this new geodatabase down here, okay, called CONUS. And here's your CONUS DEM. So right click on that fella and add to current map. Okay, now let's zoom to layer, and that's what we got. Now I know that other one was higher resolution, but as I said, you can't really do as much with that one as you can with this. And the other thing is, when you're working over such a large area like we are, you don't need your data to be that high of a resolution, because it's going to be very heavy in terms of file size. And like, for example, we're going to create contour lines, and it's just going to be too much detail for what we're trying to work with. Okay. All right. Now, we also don't want to have to work with this entire data set, okay? So we're going to clip it just to where we are currently working. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to go over to our elevation layout, okay? And we are going to double click on our map frame and come here, and we are going to choose, we need to break ourselves out of this constraint, okay? And then we are going to double click on our map, and we're going to go to clip layers, and we are going to clip to a custom extent, and we're going to choose current visible extent, okay, because that's what's in our layout. And then we're going to click OK. All right, so it's a little wonky here, and that's fine, because we're going to fix this in a bit. The main reason we're doing this, though, is so we can come back to our map, okay, and we are going to create a border out just a little bit outside of here, okay, and we will clip our DEM to that border. So you're going to make your own feature class. This may be the first time you've done that, and we're going to do that by coming up to databases, right clicking, and we're going to go to new feature class, and we're just going to call this clip. And now your alias can have spaces and all of that. Okay, now it needs to be a polygon, okay, because we're going to create a closed boundary. That can all be left alone. Go to next, next, and we want it to be the same as our map, okay? So choose that USA contiguous, and then go to next, and at this point we can just hit finish. Okay, so now you've got this little fella here, Clippy, and there's nothing in Clippy right now, okay? So we need to actually create our feature. And we're going to do that by coming up to edit, and here remember, this is the whole ribbon of editing tools. And right here, we have the features tool. And so you can either create, modify, or delete them. And we are going to choose to create. And we could create features using all of these different, any one of these different layers, but today is Clippy's lucky day. And then it gives you a set of tools, okay? And we're not going to get into this too much right now. We're going to use some of these later, but for now, we're just going to choose this simple rectangle tool. So click on that, okay? And the way this one works, you're going to come just a bit outside of here, click once with your left mouse button, and then click again with your left mouse button right about here, and then release the left mouse button and just drag over, okay? And that looks okay. All right. And now this is very, very important. Whenever you're modifying or creating any new features, nothing is saved. Even if you save your project up here, nothing is saved until you go to Manage Edits and you click on this colored in disk. If it's grayed out, that means you haven't created anything new. But if this is colored, it means you've created something and you need to save it. Okay, so that's all there is to creating a new feature. Okay, and now we can use this as our clip feature for our CONUS. All right, so let's do that. And we're gonna do that by coming to Analysis. We're gonna go to Tools, and I want you to type in Clip Raster, okay? And so Data Management Tools. Now our raster is going to be CONUS, and remember, we're creating a whole new file, so this guy's always gonna be yours and intact. And the output extent is our new friend Clippy, okay? Now, this is important. We need to use the input features for clipping. I'm not going to get into it all, but it's just something we need to do. And we're going to go to Environments, and we're going to make sure that it's at our current map, okay? And then under Parallel Processing Factor, if you're not using a school computer, you can put in 100%, okay? Okay, now the last thing I want to explain is when we clip up here, you might be thinking, well, why don't we just clip it? Let's do this. Why don't we just clip it to Clippy here? Well, that's a visual clip, okay? And it's not creating any new data. It's not actually cutting the data out and making it a new file, okay? And that's what we need to do here. Okay, so now let's hit run. Okay, I want to go over that with you again because I think I went a little too fast and I made a mistake myself. So, okay, so in your input raster, the one we're going to clip, that's the entire continental United States. Now the output extent, that means what are you going to use, what's your cookie cutter? Think of this as your huge sheet of cookie dough, and this is your cookie cutter, okay? And then that'll load in all of the geographical coordinates. And then here, it's important, because I was working on another project, it's important, and you probably shouldn't have this problem, but make sure you're in our project, okay? And then you need to name it, and I'm just gonna call this Yano DEM2 because I did it again and it worked. And then just use this input features. Make sure that's clicked. Okay. And then for environments, what I've been discovering is when you're working with these terrain rasters, it's a good idea to just stick with the coordinate system from the original DEM. Okay. And so that's CONUS. That's the one that I gave you. Okay, and then you can click run. Okay, and there you go. So that worked, and that's what we need to work with. So now we're going to come over to elevation. Okay, and we just need to adjust this so that it's not wonky. So let's come over to our, let's double click on our map frame. Okay, and we don't want to have any constraints here. Let's just do this. Okay, so what we need to do is double click on our map and then delete our clipping from our map properties. And now things are going to fall back into shape. Okay, just give it a little time. There we go. Just click that again. Okay, now so now let's create our contours. Let's do a Control S. Okay, and at this point we can get rid of our boundaries and Mr. Clippy. And what we're going to do is come up here to analysis, and we're going to click on tools and type in contour. Okay, and just use that spatial analyst. And our input raster is going to be our Yano DEM. Okay, and it names the output feature class for us, contour Yano. Now I want to make sure mine's going in the right place. Good, 4403. Okay, so I don't need to worry about that. Now, your contour interval is the spacing between each contour in terms of elevation. And we're going to choose 40 meters. Okay, and now look at where our base is. Okay, it's at 346. So let's make our base contour. We have to start above that number. So we'll just round it up to 350. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to create closed contours because we're going to have a really neat effect in the next and final mini section. So you want contour polygons. Now for the maximum number of vertices, let's do 25,000. Which is not a lot. If you don't put anything in there, you can end up with like 1 million. Okay, and then you're going to go to environments, and here's where we can use our current map. Okay, and now again you can do the 100%. Okay, now here's the thing though. We've loaded up our tool. We're all ready to go. But this is still a little too well defined for us. And the contours are going to come out extremely jagged and just a little too detailed. So before we run our tool, we're just going to slightly blur this guy. Okay, and remember, I talked about these raster functions as being almost like symbology. Well, that's what we're going to do here. And the function we need is under statistics, and we're going to go to statistics, okay? and we're going to choose our raster. And then let's take this up to 9, tab 9, and then just create new layer. And boom, you see that? Beautiful blurry. Okay, now I know that that seems counterintuitive, like, hey, we want the best data, we want the sharpest data. But when it comes to contour lines, you really want them to be legible. You wanna have them smooth. Okay, so let's go back to geoprocessing. Remember, you have these tabs here on the bottom, and I don't know if you can see those in the screen, but if you don't see your geoprocessing pane, you can always just come here to analysis. Okay, now go back to parameters, and instead of our input raster being the DEM, we want to choose the one with the statistics. Okay, now let's run that. Okay, and that looks good. Okay, I know it's hard to see anything, but that worked out really well. So let's get rid of these fellas. Shift select, right click, remove, and do a Control S. Okay, now we need to do some cleanup work, so let's come over to the map and let's right click on our layer, come down to symbology, and instead of unique values, we are going to choose single symbol. And I want to make this hollow, so just black is fine. Okay, now let's come in here. Wow, this did a really good job. Okay, I mean, these are really nice and smooth. That that statistics was great. Okay, now we've got some really small areas like this, but I don't think we have anything to worry about. I'll go over these two other tools. There's a way to remove all of these little polygons, but we really don't even have that many. And there's also a way to smooth out your lines, but ours are fine. Okay, so we can actually finish up this lab now. And I know it's been a lot, even though I'm going kind of fast for me. I know you have to pause a lot and you're taking notes. So let's finish it up nice and simple now. So here's what we're gonna do, and I think you'll really like this. Let's come over to our contour and go to symbology. Okay, now we want to use this symbology called paper cut, and it was developed by this guy named John Nelson, who's super cool, and he's a cartographer, which is a professional map maker. And he's really nice because he puts all of his stuff online for free, and he's just one of those guys that shares, stuff that he's learned. So go to your portal and go over here to Living Atlas and just type in paper cut, and there's your paper cut style. So right click on this and choose add style. Okay, now I'm gonna click no. I didn't know I already put it in here, but you should see a warning that says that you need to upgrade it. Definitely hit yes for that, okay? All right, now come back to your symbology. I'm just gonna use my tab at the bottom of this area, okay? And what we need to do is change single symbol to graduated colors, okay? And we want to change this to quantile, all right? And we want to use as many classes as possible, which is 32, okay? Now we're gonna click on this fella and we're gonna say format all symbols, okay? And you should have, okay, your your paper cut style. You don't have all of these, and I'm sorry I'm making this harder on you, but just click on your paper cut style while I find mine. Okay, so okay. Okay, so this is what it should look like at first, but if you go back to the symbology pane, okay, what you can do is you can change, and this is a big part of the assignment, is uh, open up this color schemes panel, go to show names, and you should have some ready-made elevation layers for you, okay? A lot of these I made myself, but just start off with one that you like, and keep in mind the way color is used in cartography, in map making, is very symbolic. And it, before we start getting really creative with different colors, let's stick to the basics, okay? And remember, higher elevations are normally represented with like purples representing the mountaintops, and then as you go down a mountain, it's going to be more brownish and rugged, and then you'll get to your greens and your blues. So maybe something like this, okay? And let's see if that's gonna work here. I may need to do max. Okay, so the way I'd like you to finish this up is to to tweak your color ramp, okay, your gradient, until you get it the way you want. You can see I made like 3 different ones here, and so you can start with one, okay. Let's see if there's one that you might have. All right, let me just try this crazy one, and then oh geez, that just went in for that one symbol there. Okay, hold on. Okay, so this is one that I finished. I just started with one, and I know this seems super complicated right here, but it's not. The important thing is you're going to notice there's not a lot of green on my spectrum, but it takes up a good 30% of my map, and that's why you need to tweak this yourself, okay? And the way you can do that is, for example, this is a little too light for me. You could just select that and delete it, okay? Now, unfortunately, it won't update for you while you're working on it. So I'm going to delete that one as well, and then maybe pull this guy over here. And I really don't need all these different shades, okay? And that one is a little bit pansy-ish. Okay, now to change an individual color, like I would like to do here, you click on that stop, okay, and then come in here. Make sure this is on hue, which is color, saturation, which is how pigmented that color is. Is it a rich red, or is it, you know, like a light red, okay? And then value, and value is probably the most important one, and I'll show you why. Because you can open this up, go to color properties, then there's your hue. You can pick any one of these colors, and you can make it as light, or when I say light, that's not really it. It's kind of unsaturated and saturated, okay? But then this is the one where you can really uh, work with to change your color easily, and that's the value. Okay, so this is the brightest value and this is the darkest value of that hue. Okay, now this is what it looked like before and this is what it's looking like now. So you can see it's real easy for you to judge. If you want to make it darker, that'll work. Okay, and okay, now last thing is, say you want to put one of these stops in between these two guys. Just click the one in front and then hit a plus. Okay, and if you want to delete it, just hit delete. Okay, and then make sure when you get it the way you want, you save it to a style. Okay, because you will have worked pretty hard on this, and remember, this is going to be a good chunk of your grade. As I mean, I know this was there was a lot going on in this lab. Okay, but I think you're getting better and better with this stuff. So I hope this lab was worthwhile. Now, the one thing that I saw that I wish I would have done differently was, I think I over generalized on the statistics, and this could have used a little more nuance, but for now I think it's okay. All right, I'm just gonna try and get that black. I don't know why it doesn't end black. Okay, just delete that one. Probably had way too many of these things in there. Okay, and then when you hit OK, you'll see it update. Okay, I also put my Yano boundary layer and my state bounds in there, as you can see. All right, and then yeah, I need to tweak this one big time. Just, you want this part to be green, and then once you head up the caprock, it should really all start being more of a light gray. Okay, so I would probably just want to go back to something like that. All right, I'm really looking forward to seeing your work, and let me know if you have any questions.